Fine coffee
How's
is
that?
just the thing.
That's okay.
All right.
I'll tuck it in my belt. How's that?
Are you still having trouble with my... Okay. It's not in the shot. Good.
Because there's a...
To those who think that movie making is just a lot of fun, I would have invited them out to the set the other day to watch you jump in the water any number of times in Airport 77. Was that as rough as it looked?
Well, I do have a number of bruises. I have a skinned knee, if you would like to see it.
Oh, my goodness.
And I have Jack Lemmon's thumbprint on this arm. I'm rather pleased about that. I don't think there's another woman in town at the moment who can make that statement.
What was it about Airport 77 that intrigued you most?
I thought it was a very good story, very well told, with an interesting and attractive role for me. Just what I had been waiting for, as a matter of fact.
For all of your Atlanta fans, of which I think I'm at the forefront, I've got to ask you something about what else, Gone with the Wind. Maybe this is a touchy subject, unpleasant, but it is going to be shown on television.
Yes.
Now, are you fond of this idea, or what?
Well, I think the issue is, how is it going to be shown on television? And I do know that it has been shown already on public television, or home box office, for example, which I think is owned by Time Incorporated in New York City. And friends of mine were transfixed by it. It was shown all on one night with a 15-minute break, exactly as in a cinema, a wonderful print. And do you know, they saw it night after night after night, enthralled. Here in Los Angeles, it was also seen on cable television, I think Channel 28, but in exactly the same manner. And a bellboy, when I arrived in Los Angeles, told me at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where I went for lunch one day, that he had seen it 7 days in a row.
Oh.
That's the fascination that film has. But the most delightful thing is that it was presented under ideal circumstances, just as it would have been presented in a cinema house.
Yeah, well, I, for one, don't think I'm going to watch it if it's chopped up by commercials, because my affection for it is too great.
People all over the world have this deep sense of tenderness and association with that film.
Why do you think that's the case?
Because it has a universal theme, which is struggle, defeat, and survival. And the characters are brilliantly drawn and orchestrated. The relationships are very rich. I discover something new about those relationships and about those characters every time I see that film. It's of unending interest, I think.
Well, I know I've seen it, should I say, 25 times at least, maybe even more than that. And each time it is a new experience.
Yes, it's a new experience.
This is one of the films I'm sure that you hold in really an exalted position among the films you've done, isn't it?
And do you know what I think about it? I think it's a national treasure.
Oh, it is.
I really do.
I still can't understand why MGM sold it to TV in the first place.
Well, I won't go into that.
Okay. Is there a scene in Gone with the Wind, thinking back on it now, that you remember with particular fondness?
Oh, well, so many. All of them. All of them. Every single one.
Oh, I know the scene with, late in the film, with Clark Gable, with Red and Melanie, where he breaks down.
Yes.
It's such a magnificent scene.
And wasn't he wonderful?
Brilliant, brilliant.
Yes, he had great reservations about that scene because he felt very shy about crying. He thought it was an unmanly thing to do. It's a very difficult thing sometimes for an actor to do. And he thought, well, Clark Gable crying in public was perhaps not a suitable thing for him to do. But in the end, he did it. He committed himself, and he was simply wonderful.
And you know, another of my favorite scenes is with you and Leslie Howard when you're you go out on the balcony at 12 Oaks and you talk about the world that is the Old South that is about to vanish.
Yes, exactly.
Which is another beautiful scene.
Yes, that's a lovely scene. The sentiments in that scene are very beautiful.
Yeah. I must ask you also about another favorite film of mine that you did, and that's The Snake Pit.
Yes.
This was really an important film at the time it came out, wasn't it?
Very.
This was, I guess, the first film dealing with mental illness.
In a realistic way.
That must have been a very challenging role.
It was, and all the research for it was fascinating. And I went, of course, to an institution, 2 institutions. I spent 3 days in one of them, and I saw every single experience that Virginia Cunningham, the role that I played, had to undergo, from electric shock, I saw that, to hydrotherapy, to a dance. I went to a dance, and I got invited to dance too by one of the inmates. I felt quite set up because he came over and he told me I was cute. One of the patients. I didn't dance. I told him I was sitting that one out. But it was a very interesting thing to witness, and we tried to, and succeeded, I think, to reproduce reality.
You know, even though you've won 2 Academy Awards, I still think you should have won 1 for that, because there was something about that performance that just ran the entire gamut. I mean,
yes, it was very complex, wasn't it?
Of all the directors you've worked with, and you have worked with the very best, which is the one you think you have learned more from?
I learned valuable things from William Wyler, I think, who's has such a fine critical sense. Valuable things from Litvak, valuable from George Cukor. I think Jerry Jameson on this film has a very true instinct, and one can have absolute trust in him, and that's very important. He's also a model of patience. I've never seen anything to equal that man's patience on this film. It's remarkable.
So do you expect direction, or do you like to work things out on your own, more or less?
Well, first of all, you work things out on your own, but you depend on the director, of course, to let you know if you're off, slightly off here or slightly off there, and you can trust Jerry. He'll come to you very quietly and say, pull it down a little, or he'll say, bring it up a little, or I will go to him and say, for example, I noticed that in my character rather flippantly used the term, the exclamation, my God, but in a very serious moment used it too, the third time. I went and I said, first of all, at the first readings, I think I'd like to, with your permission, eliminate the 2 frivolous my gods, because it's not going to mean anything when she says, oh my God, in a serious situation. If she uses that term in a light fashion ahead of time, he said, you're perfectly right, eliminate them. And then, by the time we got to the serious scene, I had noticed that a number of other actors had been saying, oh my God, and I thought it won't work for me, because the audience will have heard it too much. So I went to Jerry again, and I said, now that we're here, can you find me a substitute for the serious use? I can't say it at all, clearly, or because it will not mean anything. He said, just say, oh no. And that's what I said. You see, I could trust him.
Yeah. I have said this before on my program, so I'm not just saying it because I'm here talking to you, but every performance you've given, everything about it seems to be so right. Now, do you depend a lot on intuition, or is it technique, or is it both of them combined?
Preparation. Preparation. If it's a character that has a very unusual experience, like Virginia Cunningham in The Snake Pit, then research, lots of research, and time. One of the important things is to let the subconscious mind do its work, and it will give you so many wonderful surprises if you give it a chance. And so I like to read the script and even memorize it well in advance of the shooting, so that the lines, which I do like to say absolutely accurately, become thoughts instead. They become transformed, and they just come out with all kinds of inflections that belong to the character, which you yourself have never used in real life ever before, and that's lovely. So it's really preparation.
Yeah. I want to thank you very much for taking this time out to talk with us, and come to see all of your Atlanta fans.
Oh, I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could he get a picture? Let me get.
Yes, certainly.
Try to go closer
Thank
here.
you.
I'm sorry.